What's up, Fallible Nation Live? Welcome to another Fallible Nation Live, man. What's up, Fallible Nation? You guys are awesome. It is Monday night. My ears are way too loud in here. Let me fix this real quick. Let me know if I'm hearing you guys too loud or what I'm hearing you on. Maybe I'm hearing myself. I don't know. It's crazy tonight. What's up, guys? I'm so excited. It's Monday night. As you can tell, I'm a little wired, and it's because I'm trying to feel better. It's been a long day. I was feeling bad today, and so I'm overcompensating. So we'll see how tonight goes. Guys, time is our most valuable resource. I mean, let's face it, right? So many of us struggle to make the most of it, though, because there's a lot to do. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list? I know I am. Constantly battling the clock, never feeling like you have enough time for things that truly matter. It's time to take control and streamline your time using powerful techniques that will transform the way you approach the day. Guys, join us for the show tonight, and I'm glad you're here, but join us. Stay with us for this whole program. It's packed with practical tips and strategies that will help you make the most of every minute. From time blocking and prioritization to automation and delegation, you'll learn how to eliminate distractions, focus on what matters most, and achieve your goals with ease. Well, let me rephrase that. You'll achieve your goals a lot easier than you would have otherwise. Let's not pretend that goals are always easy to achieve. But don't let time slip through your fingers any longer. Guys, stay with us tonight. Get your questions ready. You know I love the question portion at the end. And guys, we have a lot for you in the show. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey, Fallible Nation. So whatever platform you're on right now, whether you are joining us on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on YouTube, it doesn't matter. We're seeing your comments. We want you to know you're a part of this show. So let us know you're here. Sound off in the comment section. Join the conversation. Those are the best shows. Honest to goodness, the best shows. It's just when the conversation section, the live chat is going nuts. If you are in a place where you're not feeling like we're seeing your live chat, I'm still experimenting and learning just how well I can see the stuff going on LinkedIn. So you'll see me looking to the side every now and then because I'm trying to make sure that I'm seeing the people over on LinkedIn just as much as I'm seeing everybody else. But the comments don't seem to jump over from there as well. So if you're on LinkedIn and you want to join the conversation, YouTube or Facebook both work better for that. And I'm live on both right now. It's the same show. So you can jump over there. I want to make sure I'm getting you guys' comments and questions answered. That's why we do the live stream. It's because we want to interact with you. That's the best conversation we have all night. I got a lot of great stuff to share with you, but jump in and join the conversation and be part of this. This makes it a lot more fun for you. It makes it a lot more fun for me. Also, if you don't think you're going to be able to stay with us the whole time, we do a Q&A at the end. There's a link in the description wherever you're watching the show for a Google Docs form, and you can hop over there and leave us a question there, and you'll either get answered tonight or on the next show. But that way you can make sure your question gets answered if you can't stay the whole time. If you're on with us tonight, put a QQ in front of the question. That helps my lovely wife and engineer make sure that I see those questions and answer them during the Q&A portion of the show. This is an interactive show, so please become a part of it. It makes it a lot more fun than any other way. Also, last announcement, I think. If you want to join us live to ask your question in person, on air, live, you can do that by going to that same form and just let us know that you want to join us live. I monitor that form during this entire presentation. That's why you guys see me keep looking over this way, is I am monitoring that document at all times during this show. So that way we can get you an invitation sent. We're sure to answer your questions in real time. Now, on with tonight's topic. So, excuse me. Time is one of the things that cannot be bought, and managing it efficiently can have tremendous impact on our productivity and happiness, right? It is one of the most valuable commodities in the world, and everybody in any industry knows it. Incorporating the right power habits into your everyday life is an effective way to maximize your use of time. Now, we've talked about time blocking in 2020 already, or 2023 already. Wrong year. Sorry, guys, I'm getting indigestion all of a sudden. And many times in the last year, we've talked about it, and time blocking is huge. I'm not going to dig deep into time blocking tonight. So if that's what you're looking for, I apologize. We're going to go a step further than that because we have talked about time blocking in the past. I encourage you to go check out those shows, or you can ask a question later in the show about it, because I thoroughly believe in the power of time blocking. It is one of the things I use to make my schedule more efficient. I'm always looking for ways to make my schedule more efficient and more effective because there's a lot on my plate, just like there is on yours. And so time blocking is a really big step for that. But I got 10 more habits or steps you can implement tonight to make the best use of your valuable time each day, enabling you to reach new levels of personal and professional success. Now, the first one isn't going to seem new to you, and that's establish achievable goals. Now, we talk about that on a regular basis, right? That doesn't seem like a new thing. Okay, Brent, yeah, establish achievable goals. You talk about that a lot. We talk about SMART goals, and that's true. But establishing achievable goals is foundational for the rest of this, because if you aren't working on achievable goals, it doesn't matter what you do with your time. It's not going to help. I can give you all the tips in the world, but if you're trying for goals that are not achievable or realistic, then you're just spinning your wheels, right? Setting concrete goals can help prioritize activities and give your days purpose and structure. With the right planning, you can identify areas you want to improve in, and turning those aspirations into reality by breaking them down into bigger goals into smaller, more achievable goals, right? Our task. Once your goals are set, it's important to break them down over time, creating incremental steps, right? We talk about incremental a lot here, that keep motivation high as success is celebrated. Miracles don't happen overnight, but following through repeatable methods, you'll manage to manage your days more effectively. See, that's what I wrote. I got to read that spiel because I took the time to write it. So I want to make sure I read it right because I knew I'd screwed that up. All right. This is the core of the list, guys. Achievable goals. If you're not making achievable goals, you're spinning your wheels. Maybe your goals, it depends on what part of your life you're in, but you still have goals, right? So you need to make them achievable goals, not unreasonable, but manageable, achievable goals. Otherwise, like I said, all these time-saving techniques, you're wasting your time, right? We're on the wrong show for that. So, number 2, leverage technology to streamline your tasks. Now, I'm a technology guy. That's my background. Before I did this all the time, that's my background. I've worked in IT for years. Technology can be a really powerful tool when it comes to streamlining tasks and making the most of your time. From online shopping, right? None of us even think about that anymore. People shop online every day. Amazon is the biggest marketplace in the world. No one even thinks about shopping online anymore. It really wasn't that long ago where we're like, and then we're going to do that, right? To setting reminders and managing your emails, there are plenty of ways to use technology to help you stay on top of the day, right? You can set reminders on your phone or on your smart device. I see it all the time. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he pulled out his phone and said, "Hey, set reminder for this, blah, blah, blah." And I just laughed, right? If you want to work smarter, not harder, leveraging technology can help free up really valuable time. Now, find the things that are consuming too much of your time and consider how technology might be able to take care of them efficiently. On the flip side of that, find things that are no-brainers for you that just are time sucks, right? This is where I like to use technology. I like to automate processes that really don't take a lot of my mental attention and focus. So that way they're just not wasting my time, right? I'm automating that. The more automated processes you have in place, the better your productivity becomes, and the more productive you become, the more value you can create in your everyday life. Like I said, we don't think about shopping on Amazon anymore, but it really wasn't long ago that was just a crazy concept. And now people, I mean, who else? Shout out in the comment section if your mailman hates you. I'm sure they're appreciative of their job. But let us know in the comment section. Does your mailman hate you? Because like around my conference, oh my goodness, the look I get from my mailman, because I have stuff coming in constantly when I'm ramping up for the conference, box after box. And this year we were getting ready for the strongman competition, our first strongman competition. And so the UPS guys like just glaring when it was taking 2 guys to unload a truck for one item. But we buy stuff online that we don't even think about anymore. But we've gone farther than that, right? Your smartphone has so many capabilities for what you can use, from setting reminders to automated calendar alerts. I think you can actually set your phone to call you and somebody else at the same time just to set up a phone call, right? I use a digital calendar assistant all the time. I don't set any of my own appointments for my podcast or anything because that's just a time-consuming thing I don't have to do. So I use that. I have Otter AI. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or use this. I use Otter AI to take notes for me when I'm in meetings. It logs into any Zoom meeting I have or that I'm supposed to be on, as long as the host lets it in, and it takes notes for me. Like it completely takes the entire transcript of the conversation, and then it actually breaks it down into sections and sends me an outline with headings and stuff so I can go back. I was just on a meeting earlier today, and they sent me an email. It's like, hey, here's the breakdown of the conversation. And I sent that to the person I was on the meeting with so they could review it, because there's a thought process going on their side. I wanted them to have that conversation as well. So there's all kinds of technology out there to help take care of tasks that you would do randomly on your own that really might just be a bad use of your time. That's the way I like to do them. That's what I use it for. So, Number 3, limit distractions. Constant distractions take us away from task at hand, costing us time and energy to get back on track. Factually, research has taught us that it takes roughly 23 minutes every time that you get interrupted to get back on task if you were actually like on task. Now, this isn't like I was sitting there minding my own business doing nothing, but someone came and asked me something. That's not me being on task. But like when I'm focused and like in the moment, like I'm writing a show or I'm preparing for an interview or something like that, if I get interrupted, like statistical research, like I really dug into this one day. Statistical research proves it takes an average of 23 minutes, give or take a couple minutes, to get you back into the right mindset in that same place you were when you got interrupted, especially if you're like writing or reading. That's really bad. Major problem solving task. It takes 23 minutes. Man, that's, if you have little kids, that will just like, distractions abound, right? So setting boundaries for ourselves to stay on task, like notifying coworkers of, hey, I'm going to be in this heads down, so I need you to, give me some space. Family members or roommates about specific times for, either taking calls if you have a home phone. Not many people do, I know, but some people do. Creating a do not disturb zone in your house or time frame, just like at this time of day, just don't bother me, right? Time blocking, we've talked about that. We referenced it earlier. Potentially turning off notifications during certain activities are all potential options to help us limit distractions. Finding one of those strategies from among the many available is a key to success, okay? As it allows us to focus without feeling overwhelmed and really getting waylaid sideways when you're trying to focus on something. It costs you a massive amount of time. Creating a usable system of commitment can be tough, right? Because we all have distractions. We all have those things that are going on in our lives, right? I work from home. And so my wife is also working from home. She's got her business that she runs and she's homeschooling our kids. And we have other things going on, right? We get distracted a lot. And so finding those times where you can just like lock down and build the discipline of the system without those distractions is really crucial for being more time efficient. We'll be able to make better use of our time in everyday life if we set some of those hard goals and goals was the wrong word. Some of those hard boundaries. They're really hard to do with people who love you. It's really difficult. So I understand. I'm not asking for something easy, guys. I don't do that around here. You should know that by now. And if you're just joining us for the first time tonight, I don't ask for easy things. I ask for things that actually work, things that actually will help move that needle, but I don't promise anything easy. That's not what we do. So number 3 was limit distractions. And let me know, hey, in the comment section, have you tried any new technologies or anything, utilize any new technologies in your life or newer to try and streamline your schedule or to make things more efficient? Like I said, I use Otter AI for meetings and a host of other things to help me be more efficient. Have you guys tried that out? Let us know in the comment section, in the live chat, or if you're watching this on the replay, guys, let us know in the comment section, what is your go-to solution? What technologies have you tried or are you interested in trying? I just sat through an entire discussion with my business mastermind not long ago, discussing all the new AI things, right? AI, there's like an AI for everything these days. Have you tried any of these? What's your experience? Let us know in the chat or in the comments on the replay if that's something you're trying out and how that's working for you. Number 4, develop daily routines for yourself. Okay, guys, sorry, I got to take a drink. The price of having this look for a YouTuber is it's hot, man. Really hot. Lights, like lights, and no fans because they cause noise. So number 4 is developing daily routines for yourself. Developing daily routines for yourself is a great way to stay organized and make the most out of your hours. Now, for some people, this is like really uncomfortable because we like to be spontaneous, right? Oh, I like to leave it open and just kind of go where the day goes. If that's your life and you want to live that way, it's no judgment. Okay. That's all you, right? If you want to be efficient and effective with your time, that approach is not going to be very effective for you. Now, this can involve planning out your meals or even like meal prepping, workouts, study times, your sleep routines, setting aside specific times to relax or take care of yourself, right? This is what time I take a shower. Regularly establishing how you want to spend your day can help you keep focused on achieving your goals and staying productive. Daily routines help by creating new habits that will then form part of your normal routine as instinctive behavior the more you exercise those habits, freeing up more of your brain power to react quickly and efficiently during important situations. Now, one of the things I've found in my research of doing this podcast for the last 2.5 years, I've talked to a lot of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, guys. And one of the things I consistently find is people who you and I would consider very successful, right? People who make that next tax bracket up or 2 or 3 tax brackets up in some cases for some of the people I've interviewed. People we would consider successful by normal societal measures on income level and business level and stuff like that. They have routines, they have schedules, they have processes in place. And one of the things I've learned that they all really do is they develop certain routines, like daily routines. In fact, you can like YouTube search and Google search millionaire morning routines and find things for like Grant Cardone and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all of these guys that we generally call successful in society have regular routines that they stick with. From this time to this time, I mean, they are scheduled out. And part of the benefit of that isn't just that you stay on schedule, it takes away the mental focus behind daily tasks. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're trying to go to the next level, you only have so much mental capacity during the day. Your brain can only make so many decisions during the day. And on average, I believe it makes like 7 to 10,000 or more than that, or it's some ridiculous number. Your brain actually taps at a certain point. The longer you go, it's like an hourglass when you flip it over. The longer you go, the less sand there is. It's the same way with your capacity to make good decisions. And so really high performing individuals remove as many of the menial decisions as they can. I think Mark Zuckerberg is the one who's famous for, he only has one set of clothes, really. I mean, he's got his suits and stuff for when he's got to do something really fancy, but for daily wear, He has like 15 pairs of the same set of jeans and 15 of the same t-shirt. And that's what he wears every day. He doesn't have to think about what he's putting on. He has removed all the menial decisions, whether you like the guy or not. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about setting daily routines for yourself. Remove the decisions that don't really matter by creating routines that will give you more capacity, and it will also speed you up. You don't have to think about it anymore because it's already a pre-done decision. Now, number 5 is really difficult because you have to run a harsh audit on your life. And this gets really uncomfortable really quickly. Okay. This is probably the most painful step involved in this. If you want to know where your time, your productivity, your resources are all going, then you have to run a very brutally honest audit of your life. If you're not sure you can do this, you can task a friend or a family member to help you with it. Understand you're not going to like the results. I study routines and efficiency on a regular basis. That's a big driver in me because I understand how important it is for me to optimize my efficiency and to make the most of my routines with the things I'm trying to accomplish, right? If I had somebody else audit my life, right? If I had Sarah, since she's on here, follow me around all day and literally take notes about every second of my day and how I spend that time, I'm sure she would find gaps where I'm wasting time. B, I'm sure I would not like it because I'd make justifications like, oh, that's my, detox time. That's right. That's my brain. I need some brain time in there. It's not on my schedule, so I don't need it in there. Okay. Brutally honest and audit your life. If you don't know where your time is going, then you can't do anything about it other than flounder around aimlessly and make a lot of wasted time through useless guesses at what actually needs fixed. These days, people spend more and more time in the bathroom than ever, right? And this is going somewhere, I promise. Experts were already estimating that over the course of an 80-year lifespan, the average lifespan, you spend between 13 to 18 months of your life on the toilet. That's not showers. That's on the pot, okay? The average individual spends between 13 to 18 months of their life in an 80-year period on the toilet. And that was pre-smartphones. Research has already showed us that bathroom times are getting longer because people go into the bathroom and sit down and play on their phone. The number is climbing because people get distracted, right? It's a great use of time, right? That's where I check all my social media because that's how I feel about social media most of the time. But guess what? I've done it too, taking excessively long in the bathroom because I started playing on my phone. That's not an efficient use of my time. And if somebody else was to audit my time and be like, can you explain why you're in the bathroom for 20 minutes? If the answer is not Taco Bell, then it's probably my phone. And so that's not a good use of my time. So you have to get brutally honest with yourself. And that can be really difficult for a lot of us. But unless you know where that time is going, right? The old concept of what can be measured can be improved. If I know where my time is going, how it's being spent, then I can make improvements on it. If I don't, there's nothing I can do. I can just guess, and that's a lot more wasted time. You guys with me still? You are quiet in the comment section. Either I'm saying smart things and you're taking notes, or I'm that boring tonight. I'm not sure which. Number 6, separate meetings separate meetings from conversations. It helps if I can read my notes. And avoid long meetings. My friend Common Man OCR, I didn't see him on tonight yet, but him and I, we understand this concept of avoid long meetings. We used to work together for another vendor years ago, and this was the bane of our existence. The amount of production time we lost to unnecessarily long, unorganized meetings was just painful for both of us because we were on a major project. And so we were on really harsh deadlines. Now, this doesn't just apply to work, though. Okay. Now, meetings can be an important part of any workplace, but if it's not handled properly, They can take up really valuable time that could be used more productively. But what about the rest of your life? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's not just work, okay? Learn to identify and separate meetings and conversations, and make sure everybody involved knows the difference. There are times that I talk to my wife and it's more of a meeting, and there's a specific agenda. We're talking about work stuff, or we're talking about upcoming stuff on our schedules. And we need to talk about this thing, and this thing, because this is what we need to get to. And I get really frustrated if we get divergent on that and go to a different direction. And that's my fault, because I have not shared with my wife, hey, think of this as a meeting. We need to take care of this, and this, and then we can get onto a conversation. That's my fault. I haven't communicated that well. But this happens in our real lives, not just at work. This happens in our friendships. This happens in our relationships with spouses, our significant others. Learn to separate and identify, this is meeting, right? If you're sitting down with your spouse to talk about bills, okay, that's not a time for social conversation. That's the time to discuss the bills, get it done, and then move on. It's okay to spend time in social conversation with people. It's not okay to waste time in a meeting when you actually need to achieve something. So to help ensure your time is being well managed, avoid long meetings. Keep them focused and on topic, and ensure that all of the needed information is covered within a short period of time. Don't allow for it to go way off to the side, go way off the rails. We've all been in those meetings. I've been in a lot of those meetings. They are the pain. It's one of the things I don't miss in my professional life. I do not miss some of the meetings I was in, because it was like, okay, this has gone off the rails, right? Can we actually get back to taking care of work? Because I got stuff to do. Establishing an agenda beforehand is one of the ways you can help with do that. And don't get caught up in mundane discussions of unrelated topics. Guys, this is effective in your personal life, in your professional life, in your social life. Really, it is. Number 7 is build process. Or processes, sorry. One of the things I used to do for my company was I built process documentation. SOPs, as we call them, standard operating procedures. I built process docs for everything from very specific daily tasks that my team did to onboarding documentation for new hires or for hiring people, and the process of training new employees as well. That was one of the things I was tasked with. That's one of the things I did for a lot of years with my company, is the process doc. And the process doc should be painfully clear and obvious, so anybody with basic level intelligence can follow it and access whatever you need. That's the way your processes need to be. Perfect, efficient, standardized practices so that everybody did the best, because we all have the same information. That's how we ran efficiently. That's how our team functioned efficiently, and how we got the same results across a team spread across multiple states, multiple buildings, multiple countries sometimes. And we revisited the process and updated it if new information was presented that would make it better. And if new information was presented that didn't make it better, we reviewed the process and went, nope, that doesn't work. You can build processes that work in your business and in your life. Now, if you've caught some of my relationship shows, you may have heard me talk about Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott. One of the programs they teach is called Fight Night. It's a very good program. I highly recommend it for a relationship. Sarah and I have been to it at least once, I want to say twice, and got stuff out of it both times. But their program, their Fight Night program and book, you can buy it on Amazon. There's, I think, a link on my website for it, actually. This idea is exactly what they teach couples for handling fights. Their whole program, Fight Night, is about mutually beneficial fights as opposed to a standard fight between a relationship, between a couple. The idea is they have a process for going through a fight. Once it's identified in their head, oh, we're in a fight, they have a process that they adhere to, that they've agreed to earlier in their life. They've agreed to when they're not fighting, said, this is how we're going to handle fights. This is how we're going to take care of it. This is how everything's going to process. And in this, they've actually created a way where both of them come out of the fight feeling better than they did before. There's no winner, there's no loser, there's not hurt feelings. This is our process for dealing with this fight. And it's designed so they both come out in a positive way post disagreement. Now, the idea that they have of processing their fights in a way that resolves it and comes out in personal, it's, trust me, guys, it's a book worth your time if you're in a relationship. But if you can do this at a relational level, okay, if a husband and wife can put in a process to handle fights, then you can put in a process anywhere in your life and it will make things more efficient. I have a certain way that I process a show. When I'm going through, there's a certain way when I record a podcast, there is a process for how I go through the order I do things in, the things involved in it. There's a process for the way I go through and edit my podcast from start to finish, from when I record it and I'm recording it to when you guys can hear it or see it, depending on what platform you listen to my podcast on. There's a process for that. There's a process that can be applied to anything if that's what you're after. So apply processes in your life. You'll get more consistent results. It will take some of that non-thinking decision stuff out, right? Like we talked about in the last point, where you're not spinning cycles on stuff that is inconsequential and really doesn't deserve your full focus. Putting in processes makes effectively. In fact, you can go back to my Valentine's show that I recorded, because one of the couples that was on there, Alex and Alicia, they were talking about they're both business people. And so they have processes for about everything in their life. And it actually negates a lot of the fighting and a lot of the useless disagreements because they have a process for how they handle things. And it works very well for them. So there's another example of it working in a non-work kind of way. Now, guys, share in the comment section whether you're on the live stream with us right now and you're in the chat, or whether you're watching this on the replay. What is your go-to time saver? All of us have one. You may not think of it that way, right? You do a lot of things without functional, like upfront thought, a lot of things out of habit. Maybe you buy certain things on Amazon because it is faster and easier from where you live than to go buy them at a store, right? Maybe you only shop for, like, we shop for 2 weeks at a time. That's our general plan. I know every now and then changes, but we generally shop for 2 weeks at a time because we have to travel to go shopping because we live in a more rural area, and to get better prices, we have to do some traveling. What is your time saver? For us, our time saver is with shopping is we have it on the schedule, and on a regular schedule, we go shopping. And we know we're going to go spend part of that day doing that. That's just part of our schedule, as opposed to running and doing it over and over again or whenever it happens, because we don't have that luxury. But it saves us time because we plan for it. So we also plan other things. It's like, okay, while we're in town, we can do this, this, and this, right? So what is your time saver? Let us know in the comment section, guys. Share with the community. It makes things better. We're here to support each other and make each other's lives better. Number 8, focus on your most important task. I'm winded tonight. Sorry. I'm recovering from being something sick. I don't know. It just hit me yesterday. Focusing first on the tasks that are of utmost importance to us and completing them before we moving on to other items helps assure you're making the best use of your time. I told you earlier that, right, your decision capability declines over the days. The longer you're up, the more decisions you made, your ability to make good decisions or as good of decisions declines. So if you focus on the stuff that's most important first, you will far do better. Additionally, it will help you keep track and potentially even boost your motivation as you make progress towards completing larger goals, because you're knocking things off that list, right? We talked about goals earlier in the beginning. Use tools to help you prioritize things. Don't leave it in your head. Your head is for solving problems. Okay. This is a common mistake I see. I'm not a huge journaling person. If you've been on the show, you might have heard that before. If you're new, I'm not a big journaling person. I do advocate for journaling to some extent, though, because your brain is not, it's not a hard drive. It's the RAM. Can I be a computer nerd for a moment? Your brain is not a hard drive. It's the RAM. Yes, you store a lot of information in there, but the most effective use of your brain is as RAM, not as a hard drive. If you have an important thought, if you have things you need done, if you have things that are on the list, don't leave them here. Think about them and move forward by putting them down on something. Now, I have 2 levels of organization I'm going to share with you guys. Okay. I shared this with my business group not long ago, and they thought it was hilarious. So this is organization level number 1, right? This is a flimsy little notepad. This sits on my desk. And if I think of something, it gets written down on this notepad. That's organizational level number 1. If it goes on my notepad, it's an idea, and I will work on it when I get a chance, and hopefully I'll get a chance and I won't forget, right? It stays on my notepad. I actually have probably 40 pages of loose pages that I need to go back through and check on to make sure I didn't miss anything so I can throw them away. But if it goes on my notepad, it's officially in the process. If it goes on my calendar, if it goes on my calendar, it's getting done, right? When it moves from my notepad to my calendar, it is a priority and it's getting done. There's these are things I'm thinking about, and these are things I am doing. Okay. There's everything from notebooks and calendars to new AI assistants, right? We were talking about some of the things that new technology can help you with. There's a new AI. I have not tried it, so I'm not recommending it to you. I've read some good reviews on it. I've looked at it a few times. I haven't tried it, and I'll tell you the only reason I haven't tried it is because it's just taking the time to get it set up initially. I haven't had the time for it, but there's a new AI called Motion AI, which is a online calendar, and you can connect it to your scheduling and everything else you do, and it reorganizes things by the way you describe the task to make you more efficient. It's got really good reviews. I don't know if it's any good, but I mean, we're at that point where there are things, right, that we talked about earlier, technology to help you with being more efficient, with focusing on what's most important. And we talked about in the past, but I wanted to bring it up. The Pareto, however you say that, principle of time management states that 20% of your time spent accounts for 80% of your productivity. It also states that 80% of the tasks that you have on your calendar require only about 20% of your brain power, focus, or attention. This tells us that about 80% of what we spend time on may not be doing much for us and might be able to be done in a more efficient way, like outsourcing or through technological possibilities. Hey, Lale. Let's see. Lale says, we work on a list of things that need done and plan when we'll get it done in between our running around and our work, right? Everybody's got their system. It's David. I just got home from work and Lale had this on. Oh, okay. Hi, David. I understand. No worries. Good to have you on, man. Thanks for jumping on. So, guys, everybody has their process, right? And I'm not saying your process is bad. I'm not saying your process is good. I'm saying everybody has their process, but you need to have your processes. And you need to focus on what's most important first. I recently actually had to re-look at my schedule. My business coach kind of got on me because he's like, I know you're busy, but how many of those things are actually moving the needle? How many of those things are really impacting what you're trying to achieve? And so, right, this is something I'm still working on. That's one of the things we're honest about here. Only 20% of your time is really moving the needle a lot of times. Not always, but generally. So really focus on what's moving the needle and what's working for you, what's important first on your list. as you're trying to be more efficient. What's up? Relationship Trade Secrets is in the house. Good to see you, brother and sister. I don't know. I got to say that because I don't know if it's Oliver and Denise or just Oliver, or if it's just Denise. But either way, glad you're here, man. I love to see you guys. Was chatting with him earlier. We're going to touch base soon because those are just good people right there. Number 9, batch similar work together. Now, this is something that really is effective for, like, in my situation where we do a lot of the same task on a regular basis. This is something that's very common for YouTubers or podcasters, but this is also something that's very common. I know in my former IT job, I did a lot of batch working as well. I'd have a whole bunch of work that needed done, and they were all pretty much the same process. And instead of doing one ticket individually, I'd be working 10 tickets, and I do this part of each ticket all just back to back to back to back to back. And then I move to the next step for each ticket, right? Because it was much faster and more efficient to batch the like tasks and do them all at once when I was in the right other programs. Likewise, when I'm editing, I do the same thing. I do a lot of batching there. Batching similar work together is one of the most powerful habits that we can adopt to make the most effective use of our time. This means that instead of moving between tasks, we should focus on completing one type of activity before moving on. This is really effective because when your brain's in that place, guys, when your brain is zeroed in on this type of work, it's the most efficient time. If you switch from this whole task, right? I have 6 tasks I need to complete. If I go through that whole task start to finish, that's not as efficient as if I do all 6 tasks. Hit my mat. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands too much tonight. If I do this piece of all 6 tasks, my brain's already in that. I have the supporting tools up. I have my brain in the right place to think, and I'm already thinking about that process. It's much more efficient to knock out all 6 of these pieces of these 6 separate tasks than to go start to finish on each one. Doing this allows us to become more efficient by reducing distractions and by better preparing us to perform at a higher level when working on an assignment. Batching provides an opportunity to fully engage in the task and results in less wasted effort and improved productivity. I'm a huge fan of batching, guys. It saves me so much headache when I'm doing repetitive tasks, and I can't recommend it enough. And you will be surprised how many things you do in your life that are actually repetitive tasks. It's kind of crazy. It's a very common thing. Number 10, schedule a block dedicated to email. Now, you may say, Brent, I'm not in the business space. I do a lot of email. Okay. Everyone's life is different. So you decide where and when to allocate this time and consider what's going to work best for you. Maybe blocking off early hours in the morning is better for you, and you can clean that inbox or whatever, or maybe taking a few minutes during your lunch is ideal. Whatever schedule suits your life. Okay. Committing to checking the emails at set times throughout the day to help ensure you don't miss things. I get it if that's important for what you do. However, it's reported by an annual survey that Adobe has been doing since 2015 that the average American worker spends up to 5 hours a day checking and dealing with email. If you work a 10-hour workday, that's half your day. If you work an 8-hour workday, that's more than half your workday. Now, what the study did find is it's not just American workers. While the average American spends a little less than that, it's not radically less. The average American spends somewhere between 3 and 3.5 hours in a non-work capacity checking things like email. That's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Batching your emails will help. Our blocking off dedicated time for email will help create an atmosphere where you can focus on your day's priorities. You're still not missing anything, and you're not worried about missing anything, which is stressing you out because you know you're going to check and it's okay, and the world's not going to burn down in those couple hours that you're not looking at every other thing on your email. Bonus habit, schedule a block time to limit social media. If we look at time in the average Americans, okay, the average American male spends between 45 minutes to an hour and a half a day on social media. That's insane. Utterly insane. Unless you're making money off your social media account, that's insane. That's the average American male. The average female is slightly higher, not near as high as some guys want to think, but the average American female is slightly higher than that. Slightly. We're not talking big differences, guys. So do yourself a favor and block that out. We've talked about cold turkeying off social media before, and how that can be hard for you. But blocking in that time to do this is really important, because then it's not getting in the way of your other important goals. I most certainly need to watch this from the beginning. Great tips and advice. Thank you. Now, guys, we're wrapping up this list and we're going to move into our Q&A time. So if you have questions, I have a couple of questions that were sent in via email. And guys, if you've missed, right, if you think of something during the week, I was talking about earlier, right, I have to write it down. That's why I have notepads everywhere. If I think of something, I have to stop and write it down. I have right there on the front page of my website a form right at the top. So if you think of something that you want answered, you can submit that question earlier in the week, anytime during the week, and I will get that question. We'll just put it on the next show. So that's how I got these. I wanted to let you guys, remind you those guys that this is there as we move into the question and answer portion of the show. Guys, I hope that the streamlining your time tips will help you a great deal. I know I apply several of these to my life. I'm still working on applying some of these others to my life, but try them out. Streamline your life, because we all want more time. That's like the one thing we always fall short on. Now, guys, that's the tips for tonight. I hope they help. Now we're going to get into some very specific questions. Stick around for a Q&A, guys. Add your questions in the comment section, and let's get into it. Oh my goodness, I haven't fixed that banner where it doesn't say Manly Monday anymore. That's a holdover from our old title. This is Fallible Nation Live. And guys, if you've been with us this whole time, thank you for hanging out. I hope the tips were very useful. If you're coming in new during this segment of the show, guys, we've got some great questions. And if you have a question for us, you can either put it in, there's a link in the description below, whatever platform you're watching this on, and you can put those questions in there, or you can say, hey, I want to come on the show and ask questions. And I can send you a link that way. That goes to a Google form. Nobody sees that but me. That way we can send you a link. That way you also make sure we're answering your question. If you're live with us, put the question in the chat section, join the chat, put a QQ in front of it. So my lovely wife, Sarah, will make sure and see it and let me know, because I can't do three things at once. And so she makes sure I see those questions and that we get them answered. We do have a couple questions that were sent in earlier. I hope you brought a notepad, because I did actually really put some time in on effort answering these. So they're not short, simple answers. Sorry about that. Question number one, guys, what steps can I take to identify and address my personal weaknesses and turn them into strengths? I love it when people ask questions. That's a really big question. So I'll try and go through this pretty quick. Watch the show again if I go through it too fast, or take notes as we go. So what steps can I take to identify and address my personal weaknesses and turn them into strengths? Identifying and addressing personal weaknesses is an important aspect of personal development. Let me say that up front. It's really important to your growth. Now, here are a few steps you can take to turn your weaknesses into strengths. Number one is self-reflection. Take some time to reflect on your behavior, your habits, your attitude, and identify areas where you struggle. Because if you stop and think about it, you probably already know. The reality is most of us are aware of our flaws. Some of us are painfully aware of our flaws. But if you actually slow down and spend some time in self-reflection, you are actually probably very aware of what issues you need to work on in your life, especially when you take an objective look at it. So ask yourself what you could do differently to improve, but start with self-reflection. Number two is seek feedback. Ask friends, family, or colleagues for feedback on your strengths and your weaknesses. Take their input constructively. Remember, if you ask, they're going to answer you. And you cannot be mad if they answer you honestly. In fact, I hope they're close enough that they answer honestly for you. So take the input as constructive and work on areas they highlight as needing improvement. So you have a list going in case that self-reflection wasn't quite what you needed. The third part is focus on growth. Instead of focusing on your weaknesses, focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can do to improve. Adopt a growth mindset and see challenges as opportunities to grow. Often we get hung up on our negatives and we're really hard on ourselves generally. In fact, we're usually our worst critics. But focus on the positive instead. Focus on your strong points, because as you develop those strong points, it will help shore up some of the weak points. Also, it will reveal some of your weak points to you as you grow. But because you're focused on the positive, you won't see them as negatively as you might be now. So focus on the positive and focus on what you know you can grow in and strengthen instead of focusing on the weaknesses. Number 4, the fourth part of that is take action. Once you've identified your weaknesses, take active action, like intentional active action to address them. Now, this may involve taking a course, seeking mentorship or coach. Like I told you, I have a business coach because it's not my strength. So, right, that was a weakness for me. So now I have a business coach. This may include just practicing new skills. Every skill, you might have some talent with it naturally, but every skill, to really develop it, you need to practice it. Forgive me, I'm looking over here making sure I don't have anything come else on some of the other platforms. Told you guys earlier in the show I'm having to watch it on multiple platforms here. Identify it, right? Everything takes practice. No one's great at everything starting out. So it might just be practicing. It might be, once you've identified that weakness, part of taking the action maybe involve settling some old pains. You may need to make peace with some people or make yourself right with some people off some stuff that you know that you did or was behind the way you used to live your life, right? There's a lot to do, but take action. A lot of people highlight what they're doing wrong or what their weaknesses are or what they need help in. And they go, oh, yeah, I need to work on that. Oh, look, squirrel, right? They don't actually do anything with it. So take action once you've identified the things. It's really important. The fifth part of that is celebrate progress. Okay. Recognize and celebrate your progress along the way. One of the hardest things about personal growth and development is it takes time. It doesn't have the immediate dopamine response that a lot of negative things do. Building yourself is a long game. When to see the successes, a lot of times we have to get way down the road. And so it's actually much harder practice and habit to develop because we don't see the payoff till farther down the road. So take time to recognize your successes, to celebrate your victories as you're making the effort. And just be patient and acknowledge your success along the way so you can keep building on that, because it's easier to continue to build on it when you take time to celebrate that you're actually making progress. It's really easy to get discouraged if you don't celebrate it. So remember, personal development is a lifelong journey, and identifying and addressing your weaknesses is an important part of that journey, but it's not a single step process. All right. So that's the first question overnight. I appreciate our listeners sending that in. That came in earlier this week. So thank you for that. Like I said, there is a portion on the first page of our website where you can submit questions throughout the week as you guys think of them. And as you can see, when I have a little more time to actually look at them, I build better responses than I do just off cuff, although I try and do okay off cuff. Shirley says, it's good to have a to-do list, yet it's vital to prioritize that list as well. Yes, it is. I have a lot of things on my to-do list. I showed you my notepad earlier. That's why I have a two-phase. It's to-do list, then on to the actual calendar for really important things. Second question that I got sent that I wanted to address tonight is, what are some effective communication techniques to improve and strengthen my relationship with the important people in my life? Like I said, I love good questions. They're not always simple answers, but this is a really important one to me, because this is communication relationships is really core to having successful relationships. So let's dig into this one a little bit, guys. Effective communication is key to building and strengthening relationships with the important people in our life. So here are some techniques you can use to really develop that out. Number one is active listening. Now, most of us who went to public school are familiar with this concept. It may be the only communication tool they ever taught us in public school. But if you're not familiar with active listening, that's not just paying close attention to what the other person is saying, but like engaging. Okay. That's active listening includes facing that person. Like, don't make uncomfortable eye contact, but like active contact, eye contact, paying attention to what they're saying, facing them with your body. Okay. Sitting in an open posture, opening up your body so it doesn't look like you're resistant. You're sitting back, arms crossed, legs crossed, and kind of looking off to the side. You're not actively listening. You're actively trying to shut them down. It's just, there's a physical connection. So, show that you're open to what they're saying, and that you're engaged by reflecting back on what they're saying. Don't interrupt them. Re-say it back to them when they pause, so that they understand that you're understanding what they're saying. And that is active listening. That's part of it. Second part, be present. Okay. Give your full attention to a person you're communicating with, and avoid distractions like your phone. This is the enemy of good communication, especially when you are in person with somebody. Put it to the side. Give your full attention. We talk about being present and intentional a lot on this channel, specifically in the venue of relationships. I talk about it with your kids. I talk about it with your spouse, with your friends. Be intentional about communicating with the person. Be present in the conversation. Avoid distractions. Don't watch television. My wife and I went on a date night the other night. I felt so bad because we were in this really busy place, and this place we love to go, but usually we sit outside, but it's too cold for the outside seating to be open. And inside is really cramped and loud to me. And there's a lot of televisions, and my senses get overwhelmed. It's very hard for me to focus and have a good conversation with my wife there. And so I felt really bad because I didn't feel like I could be as intentional as I try to be on our dates. Use I statements. When expressing your feelings or needs back in this conversation, in this communication, use I statements instead of blaming or accusing the other person. For example, I feel hurt when you do X, instead of you always do X and that's not fair. Don't put it on somebody else. I feel hurt when you do XYZ. It's very different than you always do XYZ and it's just not fair and I'm not okay with it. It's a very different statement. Ask open-ended questions. Use questions that encourage conversation and show interest in the other person's perspective. Avoid questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. This is communication 101. If you want to end a conversation, ask a yes or no question. It's that simple. If you want to communicate with people, try and do open-ended questions. And I could probably do an entire video on open-ended questions and what that looks like. You guys let me know in the comments if that's something that you want me to address and do a show on. Because open-ended questions are a really effective form of communicating, but there's a lot behind that concept of open-ended questions. Practice empathy. Try to understand the other person's perspective and show that you care about their feelings and needs. Don't just say, oh yeah, no, I get it. No, actually try and get it from that person's perspective. Actually focus down and try and see how this is difficult for me. Empathy is not one of my strongest skills. It's something I have to work on. It's something I'm working on growing on. Understanding this from another person's perspective can be very difficult for some people, and I'm one of them. So you need to actively try to see it from their angle, from their feelings, and not belittle their feelings, but actually recognize their feelings and needs and see it through their lens. Avoid interrupting them. We already talked about that. It was just on my list. I went out of order apparently. And take responsibility. I'm a huge, oh, my voice is getting tired apparently, a huge proponent of ownership, guys. When you're communicating with somebody, if you've made a mistake, if you've hurt somebody, if you've been careless, if you have been, man, just be quick to apologize. Apologies go a lot, like sincere apologies and actions in an apologetic way with somebody does amazing things for relationships. Owning that mistake, owning that action, and being intentional about trying to make it right is massive. Now, go back through that, rewatch it. I think I could have done an entire show on that question, honestly. And you know what? If you are talking about relational communication, although they handle both work relationships and professional relationships, for deeper responses on, communication with a relationship, you can always go check out Oliver and Denise over at Relationship Trade Secrets, who are on the show tonight, hanging out. They do amazing work in this area. Relational communication is actually one of their fortes, and it's a place that I go when I'm needing inspiration on that. So guys, go check them out. Okay. I share them with you because I know what quality they share or put out in their relationship and that they live that. So go check out that. They can go even deeper down that rabbit hole with you, or let me know if I need to do a show on this, guys. And I really appreciate these 2 questions that were sent in. Like I said, we don't get a lot of questions. It's something that I love to do because I do the show because I want to answer your questions. I want to walk with you on this journey. If you're in this place in your life where you're feeling like you could use some help walking through, I do offer coaching services over at thefallibleman.com/coaching. We're starting to do one-on-one coaching and looking into doing some group coaching as well. If as a man you are feeling jammed up and just where you need a little helping hand, someone to walk with you to get over that hurdle that you just can't seem to tackle on your own, there's nothing wrong with that. Let us walk with you for a couple of weeks and we'll go forward with that. And you can always reach me there. Hit me up for a discovery call. And if I'm not the right person to walk with you, I will be the first person to point you over to some of my friends like Oliver and Denise and some of my other friends who do coaching as well. I know some amazing people. It's been one of the blessings of being a podcaster is I've met some amazing other coaches that I gotten to work with. That's great English. Shirley says, great list, Brent. And Lale says, thank you, Shirley. And Lale says, what about telling the truth, even if it's very painful? I am a huge preferred person, or Dave said that was Dave instead of Lale. Shared accounts, man, shared accounts. Telling the truth when it's painful is love. Now, you should always try to do it with the least damage possible. Okay. If you care about a person, your goal should always, always, always be to share the truth in love and in a loving way to minimize the damage from it. But that's good friends, right? That's somebody who actually cares. Only someone who loves you actually cares enough to tell the truth. I'll tell you that. People who don't love you are happy to let you wallow in lies or in anything else. People who love you actually tell you the truth. And that can be very painful. And I won't tell you that can't have negative repercussions. It can cost you in the long run. It can cost you that friendship for a short time or forever. It can cost you that relationship for a short time or forever, depending on what you're having to talk about. But love tells the truth. If you care about somebody, if you love somebody, you have to tell the truth in love and in a way to mitigate as much damage as possible, but you still have to tell the truth, even if it sucks. It's really, really hard. I won't lie. I've had to tell the truth sometimes, and it was not an easy task. So yes, that is definitely part of effective communication in a relationship. And like I will quickly point you towards the guys over Relationship Trade Secrets. because I know they've talked about that conversation in some depth, and I've got a lot of respect for what they do there. Guys, thanks for hanging out tonight. I loved having these questions. I don't see any more questions in the comment section. Sarah hasn't highlighted anything. Your time is so valuable. I am so grateful every week when you guys show up and want to be involved in this and want to actually like be a part of the show. Share us with your friends. If you got something out of this, if this was beneficial to you, whether we were talking about streamlining your time or the other questions, the greatest compliment that you can give me, besides the fact that you already give me your time, which is incredibly valuable. You have a lot of things you could have been doing on a Monday night. Share this with your friends. Okay. Not for the sake of growing my YouTube channel or anything like that. Share this with friends who need this information. Be that friends. This goes back to that relationship thing, right? Effective communication or relationship. Be that friend who cares enough to go, hey, I was watching this the other night, man, and I'm always spending my time. And I know that you struggle with time management like I do. And I got some use out of this. So check it out. Maybe it's something that will help you out too. Right? You don't have to be like, you suck at time management. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. But be that friend who goes, hey, I care about you and I think this would be helpful. I know I got some good stuff out of it. That means the world to us. So share us with your friends. Guys, if you're not part of Fallible Nation on Facebook, it is a men's group. You're welcome to join us there. That's our private men's group where we have conversation and men can just be supported by other men. Join us there. We got a lot going on. I got some great shows coming out for you this week. I'm really excited about this week. As always, be better tomorrow because of what you do today. We'll see you in the next one.